it's weird when you like write a character with your own name, and then you also, you still have that name, and then a lot is the same between you and the character. It makes dating a little weird.
Yeah.
Like they already know so much,
Right.
and I don't know who you are, and
Right.
it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the Harbor Grace excursion with the voice to have.
Books really saved my life.
I will
You want
do
to pour
the
the water?
honors.
Okay. Thank you.
Here we go.
I feel bad because I feel like I should be hosting you.
This is so
People
funny
say
to start it like
Torontonians are
this.
so nice and polite. But
They are. I love being in Canada. Really do.
I have to say, when this came out that I was going to be moderating this discussion with you, never have I had more acquaintances, people who barely knew me reach out to me and say, can I get tickets? I feel like this is like the hottest ticket in town, and clearly
Bizarre
you have a lot of fans.
for me, but great.
So I wanted to start with, we'll get to the book in a minute, but I wanted to start with Broad City. It's been just a few months since the final episode aired, and maybe sort of 5 months since you actually wrapped production. So how have you been dealing with this chapter of your work life coming to a close?
Yeah, it's been a very bizarre time. Usually after we're finished airing a season, or producing a season, we have this hiatus in between. So this is very much the usual. I can work on other projects and all this, but I know like we will begin again. And so I'm in that time, and I'm like, okay, we won't begin again. So it doesn't feel, I don't think I really feel it yet. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to like work on other things, see what sticks. This past week I went on a mini Alana Glazer tour, which was very fun. She just did.
Like as a groupie, or?
Well, I wanted to be there. Yeah, she was on a tour, like an actual stand-up tour. I wasn't just following her around. But I would. She did a tour around, like, I think the south of the U.S., and it ended in her taping a special that will be on Amazon. And so I went to the last 2 dates. And so, I mean, it just makes me happy that I can go and support her, and that we're still, working together, even if we're not, even if it's just supporting each other.
Yeah. And how did you and Alana come to the decision to wrap it up after the 5 seasons on Comedy Central?
Yeah, we knew how it would end for a little while. We knew, I don't want to am I spoiling it for anybody?
I mean, it was March, so
It was
I feel
March.
like people need to catch up. If they're
You haven't
behind,
seen it, just leave. I'm kidding.
what are they even doing here?
So we knew that I was going to go to this artist residency, or Abbi. It's hard for me to differentiate. Was going to go to this artist residency for a long time, and we knew that's how it would end. We didn't know exactly how it would get there, and it was after we had aired season 4, and we were in this hiatus period in between, and we just started to feel like this is like feels right, and it feels like it's at a point where people are still loving the show. We don't ever want to like cross over where people are like, why is this still on the air? And also, the more we really like got into it, the more it's really about your 20s in New York. And so my character is a little older than Alana's in real life and on the show. And we felt like birthdays were always a big deal on the show. And so Abbi turning 30 and really making that arc the last season for her was the way to go. And it just felt so right. And I really give it to Comedy Central because it was not supposed to end in 5 seasons. And we were contracted for longer.
Oh, wow.
And they really let us creatively end, which I don't think a lot of networks would have done.
Yeah. And over the arc of the series, I mean, it actually started even 5 years earlier.
Yeah, we
when you
started
and
in
Alana-
2009.
Yeah, as webisodes on, like web series on YouTube. But as the series went on, I mean, it always had it, but this kind of fantastic, like weirdness and kind of this kind of fun sort of stoner energy. It was never earnest. It might have been moving, but it was never sort of earnest. And yet, towards the end, particularly after 2016, or in 2016, there began some of the politics and I think the real life context for the characters of Alana and the character of Abbi sort of crept in. And I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about why you made the choice. I mean, Hillary Clinton came on the show, for instance, and why the two of you made that choice to let the real world intrude a little bit in the universe that you had created.
Yeah, I mean, early on, it started as sort of a sliver of these sketches of the characters, and even early on in the TV version, it was always this feeling of these two are out in the city, and some of the shitty things they're experiencing are blown up. So, there's we would do it a lot in cold opens, and we call them pop-outs, which is like the bank scene where I do an illustration, and we're like, and it's like, it's trying to show visually how you feel. Mm-hmm. And so there's another one where we're having like a dueling drum thing, mm-hmm. but we're just playing the drums in a music store. But it's like, how do you feel when you're doing that? Yeah. Is actually like a heightened version, mm-hmm. and then you pop out and you're in the guy's like, get the fuck out of here. And that was just how we felt living in New York for a long time, and that's kind of where we based a lot of the little nuggets for the show. And then I feel like there were always little pieces of us commenting on the world around us and things we cared about, but it was after the election, we had written, I think it was season 4, yeah. So we had written season 4 before the election, and went on this hiatus, but we knew actually after the election, Alana and I were coming back to rewrite a couple of things anyway. And when we came back, it was November, it was literally the week after the election, and it was all we could talk about. And it was devastating. I mean, I feel like if it was like devastating here a little, it was really devastating there. We were like, what the fuck? And we have an actual reality game show host as the president. It was like, it's still happening. I don't know. So it was just this organic thing that it couldn't not be in the show. And there's one episode, which is that we really went into it, which was Alana not being able to orgasm since the election. And that was really, I think that actually happened to a lot of people, literally, and also but it was also just it's the feeling of even experiencing joy. Stuff was everyone was just and so we really went for it in that episode. But over 4, when we rewrote it, we infused certain things. There was a cold open where we are escorting a young woman into an abortion clinic, and that was written before, but it really holds more meaning now, but it just felt more meaningful and significant that we do that then. And yeah, that was you asked, yeah. I answered it, right?
Yes, you did. There was this terrific Grantland profile of you and Alana in 2015 when the two of you told the writer Rachel Giese that you credited your success to the fact that you always presented yourself in meetings as an unbreakable partnership. And then Alana had said, some people are scared of us and some think we are dumb little girls, but the way we combat that is being ourselves in meetings, and having a partner makes that so easy, because when all else fails, I'll just talk across the table at Abbi like we are chilling by ourselves. And I thought that was so significant there are so many creative people for whom a partnership is not a welcome thing, that they don't want to collaborate, they're not interested in sort of a shared vision with mm-hmm. somebody else. And so I wanted to ask you what it was like to have this creative partnership, this sort of decade-long creative partnership with somebody, and how did that enable you to grow as an artist and find a voice through this partnership?
Yeah, I feel very lucky to have found Alana and sort of built this thing together. And so, yeah, as it says in the book, we met in 2007 and did improv together. We were the only two women on the team. And then we both were struggling with getting on anything. Like, we couldn't, we just weren't successful at the theater that we were at. And we realized that our friendship was just different than any of our other friendships. There was just like this dynamic and support. And then so we started doing the web series, but simultaneously, we were always doing our own thing. So Alana was always doing stand-up, which leads to her special, and then I was always doing kind of more characters, sketch stuff. And that has always existed throughout the whole thing. So we've always been, like, Broad City has sort of been our priority, but we've always done separate projects, always written individually, and the core partnership really allowed those individual voices to shine too, because I think we needed that like base structure to hold it there. And, you know, there's no one else that has a more parallel timeline than her. And so now we can kind of confide in each other these other things going on, like no one else can kind of understand. But I mean, I haven't heard that Rachel Syme interview in quite some time, but it's interesting. I'm doing this other project right now, and it's me. And I am working with someone else, but it still feels like I'm alone on it. And I had a call like 2 days ago, and I was one of those versions that Alana said, where I was like, whew, this would have been way easier with like her next to me, because I was like, they either think I'm such an asshole right now, or I'm an idiot.
Right.
And it's still very much there. I'd prefer the asshole, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing that, you know, could never be stated enough is the fact that, you know, you were two young women in your 20s, and you didn't just sell this idea and let somebody else produce it. You created it. You executive produced this. I mean, in any of the profiles of the two of you during the Broad City period, what gets underlined again and again is how hard the two of you worked, and how every single detail you were on top of. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the factors for your success. Like, what was in place, whether it was in your individual temperaments, or did you find the right people who allowed you to have this vision in this project?
I definitely think that the team around us, like any show or film, that I think you can tell. I mean, maybe not. Maybe there are some films that you hear about, like, behind the scenes, and it was like terrible, and you're like, but the film is incredible. I don't know. I think with comedy, you can tell. Like, it felt like a family. What we had going, and a lot of the people that were kind of chosen to be our department heads were chosen by our production company, Jax, and so they kind of knew us and knew who to pick for us. And some people changed, some people get out. But for the most part, a lot of people were with us the entire 5 years, and I think that's kind of rare in the New York television world. But on top of that, you know, Alana and I were extremely micromanagey. And I think micromanagey, but also wanting collaboration. So, like, everyone from the props to the set designers to casting, it was all about, like, okay, we want this, but please bring us your ideas, please. Like, I think that's when people are given that opportunity, they rise to meet it, instead of I think that door has to be open first. And yeah, I think we really did. Yeah, it was an exhausting but, like, lovely, joyous ride.
Yeah. And at the time, you had, done this web series, these short little clips that were on YouTube, and and it was quite unusual at that time to move from, creating content for, a platform like YouTube to actually getting your own show. I think, Issa Rae was making that transition with Awkward Black Girl to Insecure around the same time, and then High Maintenance came later. And I think what we're also seeing, and I mean, the platforms like YouTube allowing creators that might not get a foot in the door otherwise. And I think what we're seeing now maybe is some of the fruit of that work. So, aside from Issa Rae, there's also Tanya Sriracha, who created Vita, Lauren Morelli, who was a writer on Orange is the New Black, and she was the showrunner for the new Tales of the City reboot on Netflix. And these creators, women of color, queer women, are also bringing in writers' rooms that are more inclusive and diverse, and bringing in production teams that are more inclusive and diverse. Do you feel that this is like a permanent transformation in film and television? Do you think the seed has been properly planted for there to be more diversity in creators and more inclusiveness in writers' rooms?
I do. I mean, it's hard to say because I still feel like there's so much more to do and so much more to change in that aspect. But I do. Alana and I were a little bit sheltered in our creative experience. We were in New York, and most TV and film is in LA, and we were a little out of the business. But it definitely is the more diverse creators that are given the reins, the more diverse everyone below them will be. And that is without a doubt. So, I do think it is changing, but I still also think that there's endless stories of people being like, well, there's already one gay show on our network, so, well, there's already one black show on the network, so we can't do anything about it. And it's like, I don't think you can. What are we talking about? Like, it truly is every other, there can only be like one or two, but it's never like, we already got our straight white man show. We can't do it. It's like truly never been spoken. But that is like, there are a lot of those.
Yeah.
I actually, where was I? I was online. I was on the plane yesterday. I was like, what screen was I on? That's where I visit mostly. And I was looking at like the TV shows on the plane. Mm-hmm. Guys, Air Canada is dope.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I've been on like a nicer flight. Our show was on the TV. That's never a thing. Truly, I've never seen Broad City on a plane. I was like, okay. I didn't watch it.
I was going to say, did you?
That'd be fucked up. Can you imagine if you were like, they're watching their own show? Didn't do it. Maybe on the way back, right? But I was scrolling and I was like, fuck. Like, there's all these rebooted shows, or they're like where the cast is just white people, and I am a white person, so I'm like easy for me to say, but it's just like, it still is so like every so often you get that. So there are just thousands of shows now, so I think there's more diversity, but there's a lot, I just think there's a lot more to do.
Right.
Yeah.
There was another interview right at the end, back in March, right as the show was wrapping up, with Dave Itzkoff at the New York Times. And
New York Times is a big interview.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just wanted to drop that in. No
big deal, whatever.
And the two of you were talking about the queerness of the show, and you had said, I feel like our show has been so queer from the get-go, and then Alana said, queerer than we knew, behind the scenes, in front of the cameras, everyone who works with us has gotten queerer and queerer in the past 6 years. So how queer did it get?
Rachel. I mean, I think what we meant, I said the first line.
Yeah, you said the first line.
I said the first line.
Yeah.
What I meant, and what Alana and I have just like talked about, the show being queer is just, I think like it was always seen as queer too, even the way we were friends.
Yeah.
But the friend, like, I don't know, take that back, delete that. Even just like the, Jaime is based on my real best friend Jaime from college, and Alana's two best friends from college, and that's the beginning of the TV show, but even the web series, I don't know what it was. I think just our mentality, whether it was like really out there on the surface or not, was always attempting to be very inclusive. And I think that we've probably, probably tripped up a little bit with that, but every once in a while. But that was always our intention, to be as inclusive as possible. And as the years went on, Alana Wexler is obviously like the most fluid, the most, she's so fluid that she's like homophobic. I'm kidding, but she is so anti-racist that sometimes she does border on racism. But it's always coming from like good intention. Like it's never. I'm just repeating like an actual line from the show. I watched it on the plane, whatever. So Alana has always been like that, been so open, and I think that was like a joke, which is it became queerer than we thought, which is me in real life. But also crew members too, sort of like started to be like, yeah, I'm dating a woman now, and we're like, truly multiple main crew members just sort of realized that part of themselves. It was wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a recruitment project.
Yep. Type it up. Yeah, we were out there on the streets. Come on in. No, I think just because the space and the crew and the set was so, like even the straight dudes on set, like just their mentality became queer, and they just became more aware of queer people, and so they were, it was just like a very loving set.
Yeah. I want to get to the book.
No, I don't want to.
Because I know. I feel like the queer thing was the nice segue into the book, because as you write near the beginning, for the longest time you saw yourself as someone who couldn't fall in love. You dated, you hooked up, you had crushes, but no big relationships.
Yeah.
And even at one point you had a friend who said that she couldn't imagine you ever with someone because you were too set in your ways.
Yeah, it's like my best friend.
Yeah.
You know what is funny? She won't watch this. I don't think she's read the book.
Oh no, she has read the book.
I don't think
she
so.
has. Okay.
And this is so, I'm like sharing this. Another friend told her about that. Like another friend knew it was her. And was like, did you read Abbi's book? And then I don't think she even knows she said it.
Huh.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's so interesting when someone like doesn't know they like really impacted you with a line. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because can you talk a bit about how that landed on you to have someone assess you that way?
Well, I think the thing was that to her, this is a different best friend. This isn't Alana. That'd be like crazy. I think to her it wasn't an insult. I don't know how, but I think it was more like, you're so independent. Like, I can never, I don't know. There's a part of it that's like, it's gotta be. But it was, I mean, she said it so long ago, it really stuck with me.
Yeah. And then when you did fall in love, deep love for the first time, it was with a woman. And up until that point, you had kind of been open to the idea that you could be attracted to a woman, but you hadn't sort of pursued that attraction. And you write that, looking back, you said, I wish I'd questioned myself in the world I grew up in more. And another point in the book, you say that you regret not having hooked up with a woman in art school, where everyone hooked up with I think everyone hooked up with a girl in art school except for you, maybe.
I don't know. What the fuck?
Right.
I truly am like, is that my mic?
No, I think it's like a
Oh.
motorcycle or something.
No, I truly am like, what a waste of fucking time. What was I doing?
Yeah.
I'm mad about it.
So what held you back? Like, what was it that was a barrier to you questioning the world or imagining yourself with a woman at that time?
I think I don't know. I think in college I was like, oh, if anything ever happens, so here we go. And it like didn't. I would kind of go after the guys I felt that way about. I don't know the age range in here, but I'm 35. Yeah, oh yeah. But I feel like my age is the last like generation that could even like somehow go through their life as a kid and in their 20s and not question their sexuality in that way. Maybe I'm wrong and I'm like a fucking idiot, but I feel like it was just like there were 2 out gay guys in my grade up until high school, no one else. It was like Will and Grace. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I'm not Will, or like it just didn't make me like. I don't know. It feels like a bizarre thing to kind of. I guess I was 32, and I was like, what the fuck have you been doing? Like you're kind of just coasting. And I also was like working a lot. I write about that a lot, how I'm a workaholic, and I think that allowed me to kind of not focus on my personal life. So I don't know, but yeah, I wish that I had like examined myself in that way. I think that younger people now, in a great way, there's so much content that it's like, oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, and it also makes so much sense that why Alana and I, like, Alana is like the Sherpa into, but she's also married to a guy. She's married to a blonde man. But like in the best, they're like the queerest straight couple.
Right.
Or I don't even know if that would say that. They let them label themselves.
Right. Yeah. So there's a moment in the book when you describe kind of the like recognizing when you see this woman, that there was this recognition of, oh, that's I think I'm attracted to this person. I have this feeling. But then there was also this beat of hesitation. You write about the fact that you had gained a lot of confidence, like with guys, that you would feel really comfortable. You had sort of a really good line. Pickup line.
Still my pickup line.
What can you say?
It's not a pickup line. It's hey. Hey, I think you're adorable, or you're like something of that nature. Like, do you want to get a drink? No pressure. That's it.
Yeah.
But truly, that like takes people. Like,
yeah.
It's like jarring to people because it's also like, I'm not in love with you. I just want to get a drink and get to know you better. I might not like you after, but I was very much in the mindset of, yeah. So when I turned 30. I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna like just ask at the time as any guy out that I was interested in. And I did it and I was like, okay. And then I was, I write about it in the book, I was at this birthday party and I was talking to this guy that I had just met. And I was like, okay, what are we talking about? Whatever, no. And then I was like, I was kind of only seeing her in the party. And then I went back up to my hotel room and I was like, oh, if she was a guy, I would like text her immediately and ask her out, like all the other guys. And then I was like, what am I doing? Who cares? Like, it was really as simple as that. It was truly as simple as I completely wrote the character Abbi to have in the show. And it was, it wasn't fully like me being like, I'm interested in women too, and blah, blah, blah. It felt very specific to her at the moment, but it was just a simple thing of like, I feel this way about this person. Why would I not go after it? And I do feel like I kind of struggle with that a little bit because I feel bad that I didn't, like, didn't struggle with it, if that makes sense. Like, I feel bad that I came to that at a point in my life where I was like, I'm surrounded by queer people, I feel accepted, and this isn't something I'm like in any way ashamed of, and I do feel like I somehow like, I don't know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that it wasn't tortured.
It wasn't tortured, and yeah.
As it, I mean, I think
I
that's
wish it wasn't.
Yeah, for anybody.
For anybody,
Yeah.
but I feel very lucky that I don't know, that's my story, that's my version of it, but I didn't struggle with it my whole childhood and everything.
Yeah. And so then you have your big love with this person, and then it ends. And you're devastated, and so you decide that you're going to embark on this 3-week road trip by yourself from New York to LA, and that becomes this book.
Yeah.
So when you set out to go on this road trip, what were you hoping to get out of it? What were you hoping it would help you do in terms of getting over the relationship or reckoning with the relationship?
Yeah, so we were shooting season 4 basically right after I was broken up with. I wonder if you can see it. But it was like really crazy time for me.
Yeah.
But also, thank God I was working on that because I was totally distracted and overwhelmed with the show and work and everything. And so it was it was almost ending. Like we sit and edit the entire time, and the edit was gonna be over, and then I was like, what do I don't want to just be sitting in this still. And so I was like, I need to go on a vacation, but I can't, there's no way I want to go and sit on a beach or I will be miserable. And so I was like, I'm going to sell a book. Write a book. I'm going to write a book, and then get me out, get me on the road. Like, truly, that's how crazy I was about working, where I was like, the only way I'm going to take a vacation is if I plan this trip because of the book. And then I have to write about it after I get there, but I will have to go on this. And a crazy, it was manic. While we were editing, I would go and pitch this book in the morning and at night to all these publishers. And I didn't, this is not how books are sold. I didn't even have a full pitch. It was just, I just told them how I was feeling and how, in a planned, professional way, okay? I was just like, I feel like this is a thing that people would relate to, or I'm devastated, but I'm living my dream, but I'm devastated at the same time, and I've never been in love with a woman or dated a woman at all, and now I'm all, what the fuck's going on? And so I had to be in LA in 3 weeks, and I had a car in New York, and I was like, fuck it. And I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't really know exactly what this book would be until I wrote the book from August when I got to LA to August. And I took a lot of, I wrote and I took a lot of pictures and everything while I was on the road, and wrote a lot of how I was feeling, and then I sort of figured it out afterward.
Yeah. One of the big themes in the book as you're on the road trip is navigating the desire for independence with with loneliness. And you had made this deal with yourself when you turned 30 to try to live your life without needing anyone else. And that was before you had the relationship where you then opened yourself up and got hurt. And so it's quite heartbreaking when you decide that you're going to stay at this B&B. It's this dream of yours to stay at this B&B. So you go to Asheville, and it's full of couples having romantic, having a romantic getaway.
Pretty obvious that would be I don't know what was going on.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about navigating the desire for independence and also the feelings of loneliness that came out during this trip?
Yeah, I think it is exactly what you said. I think if I'd taken the road trip, well, obviously before this relationship, the sense of independence and loneliness that like kind of simultaneously existed in my life would have like ping-ponged back and forth still, but it was that I had opened myself up, so it was like I was very different. And I don't know, I think that is not, that's a thing that is still in my life right now. I'm a very, very independent person, and with, I don't know, with that comes loneliness, I think. I mean, the bed and breakfast was just hilarious. What an idiot. Also, I'm not a fan of bed and breakfasts. Like now, I'm like, I don't think I would go even if I was going with somebody.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on. You are right up on. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no
What
privacy.
was I doing?
No.
Asheville was the place for me to do it. There's truly like tons of them and tons of like verandas. But yeah, I don't know. That question is something that I continue to kind of struggle with because I don't know.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to ask you before I get to the Slido questions, there's this really terrific essay near the end of the book, and it's this piece where you're kind of imagining all the scenarios in which you will bump into your ex again for the first time after the breakup. And it was so relatable. I feel like everyone has kind of gone through this process. You know, you talk about like, what if you bumped into her when you were sweaty after a workout? What if you bump into her when you're in a bookstore and you're not holding like Rebecca Solnit collection, but you're holding like a Guy Fieri cookbook? What if you had a bad haircut?
It can happen at any moment.
Exactly. So can you talk about some of the sort of the fears and imaginings that you had when it came to writing that essay?
Yeah, you know, so that essay comes toward the end of the book, but actually when I was sitting down to write it, which writing a book about yourself is the hardest thing you can do. It's just very scary, and I got, you know, I was writing a lot of it in LA, or I was going back and forth still, and I was just like, I'm used to sharing so much of myself in a certain way on Broad City, but I get to hide behind the Abrams of it all. And she's also a very heightened version of me. And so I think we've spent enough time together, you guys can tell we're very different. But, you know, there are differences. I get to wear my emotions kind of on my sleeve and like bumble around a little bit as Abbi on the show. But in this I really intended to be more me. But that essay is written in this very stylized way. And it was actually the first essay I wrote in the whole book because I don't know it, like once I found it, it was so relieving to get to like play out all these scenarios, and some are completely ridiculous. My favorite one is, what if I, you know, decide to go on a trip and I want to go scuba diving, and I just decide to take this scuba diving lesson where you have to go into the pool and like I could do the whole thing, and I get the thing, and I'm under the pool, and what if she is down there? She's taking scuba diving lessons too, and like we're down there. How could I explain that? Like I don't even have a trip plan. Like I don't know. Like how could I explain all that? And so. It just was like really fun and cathartic for me to like, because it is such a scary thing. I think everyone, whether you have this kind of a situation with an ex or like an ex-best friend or like someone you grew up with, or there are these people out there living and you're like, any moment here, this could get fucked up and I'm not prepared. And so I was like, this is so... I don't know, it just felt good for me to write it, and I felt like that would be good for other people, like so relatable. And, you know, my mom read it, and she was like, this is so great that she's so happy, and you're so happy. And I was like, this is, no. Like, and I think, like, some people didn't get the tone of it. Like, I also read the book on an audiobook, and you really get the tone of it if you listen to that chapter. Some are more stylized, but... yeah, I don't know. It's a tough, you gotta kind of always be your best self, I guess. Always be ready. It could be happening to some of you right here. After we're done, someone might be here that you don't know is here, and listen, y'all look great.
I know. Everyone
it's
does
gonna be
look really
okay.
good. Their hair looks good. They all look
Everyone's looking
cute.
good.
I know, it's true. Okay, we have time for a couple of the questions.
Are we sliding into
We're
Slido?
sliding in. People are sliding into your Slido. I don't know if they're sliding for this. Yeah.
iPads.
Great. There's iPads if you want to jump in. Okay, so Amy asks, was it more challenging to explore sexuality writing a personal memoir versus writing a fictional version of Abbi?
The memoir.
Yeah?
And I don't even know if I would call it a memoir. It's like a, what else is, I don't know. Memoir feels like I'm like older, like looking back on my, this is like a slice of life, kind of a personal journey, whatever. Definitely personally, because I always kind of use seeds in myself for the show, for all the characters, but it's like I'm just putting it all out there in the book.
Yeah.
So obviously I didn't tell you everything.
Yeah. Megan asks, have you experienced imposter syndrome in the past, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, yes, I do. I have and do sometimes. Yeah. If you don't, I think you might be kind of crazy.
Right.
I think you can't go in. Yes, I think it's kind of essential sometimes.
Yeah. Kai wants to know, how has dating changed for you since becoming a well-known, recognizable queer public figure?
Oh man, it is just fucking awesome. No, it's not. I don't know. No, it's the same as it was maybe before. It's weird when you like write a character with your own name, and then you also, you still have that name, and then a lot is the same between you and the character. It makes dating a little weird. Yeah. Like they already know so much, and I don't know who you are, and it's weird.
Yeah. What advice, this is from Toby, what advice would you give to young queer folks looking to break into the comedy scene?
I would say to young queer folks and young non-queer folks, same thing, is just make, you just gotta make stuff, and really, I think it's figuring out what your voice is, and the only way to figure out what your voice is to make all sorts of different things, and so that, and then also finding your community of people that are not only doing exactly what you're doing, but doing things surrounding it. So like when Alana and I were making the web series, we found all these people that were like, these people want to direct, so they can direct it. These people want to be actors, so they can like be in it too. Like you just surround yourself with people that you can share your ideas, and you're gonna get support back. And I think that way everyone's sort of building each other up. Like it's crazy right now how all these shows that exist, shows and movies, are like all these people I took improv classes with. Everyone is like doing great. I think community is a big part of it.
Yeah. Fiona says that she is considering a solo trip. Can you give any advice on how you dealt with the loneliness of traveling alone, getting out of your own head and being present?
I think you should probably read the book.
And I mean, the book does have like it's like the illustrations are so beautiful of the podcasts you listen to, the snacks you ate, how you dealt with your insomnia on the road. There actually are a lot of really good practical tips.
There's lists of tips.
There are.
But I don't know, I don't think that you can fully escape it, and I actually think that you going on a road trip is you intentionally going into that. Like, there's no way that you're going on a road trip to not be lonely. Like, you will feel that, and I think that maybe embracing that is what you have to do, and what you kind of maybe want to do if you want to go on a road trip.
Yeah. Colette asks, could you speak to your experience coming out in the comedy film industry? How does your identity as a queer woman impact your work, if at all? Have things changed since you came out?
I don't, I mean, a little, but not, so this is very interesting. So like everyone in my life knew that I dated women too, and I was doing this press for this movie. You guys gotta watch it. It's called Six Balloons. It's on Netflix. No one's seen it. Anyway, I was doing press for this movie, and I was on a call with Vanity Fair. No big deal. And this woman was asking me questions, and this was such a bizarre like turn of events on this call. She was like, "So I don't get it. How are you single? And you're such a catch. Like, what kind of guy are you into? Like, what's your type?" And I was like, "Fuck, this is Vanity Fair. This isn't like, Cosmo Girl or whatever." And I was in that moment. I was sitting in my office. I was literally like writing the book, and I was like, "Oh, no one knows this. Like, no one knows this about me." She wouldn't have said, "What type of guy are you into?" And I like took a second. I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be like the thing that." And so I was like, "Oh, I actually date women and men." And then I don't know what I rambled off because I was like, "Whoa, here,"
I think you said you go both ways.
I said I go both ways.
You said you go both ways.
Interesting. In my head, well, I do, but I guess that can mean a lot of things. But yeah, I guess I said that. But in my head, I was like, it was more thought out,
Sorry.
Then I go, well, you understood.
Yes, I know. We got it.
We got it. But
We got it.
truly, I remember, like I knew that was going to be like a thing, which was, and I was like, this is great. How does everyone in my life knew it, and I was so like relieved, I guess, because I didn't realize it until that happened, but this would have been like some sort of coming out book, which maybe it was, but I didn't feel like it was. But I did call my publicist, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're gonna this will be like the Twitter head, clickbait.
Abbi Jacobson goes both ways.
I don't know. I think, yeah, I think that I don't know if like my career changed. The project I'm working on right now is so queer, and I guess it probably helps that I'm queer, that I'm doing it. But so that maybe like I'm actually, I think that this has been.
No, it's good.
I think writers should be able to write from more than who they are, but we're still at a point where like diversity has to be right, like it has to be given the opportunity to write for themselves. And so I think that it was like my friend who had this idea to do a different version for TV of A League of Their Own asked me to do it with him. And that's what we're doing. But, and you're like, wait, but that movie wasn't queer at all. And it's interesting, but the women that played baseball professionally, a lot of them were gay. It's funny that it didn't make its way into that movie at all. So we thought we should do a TV exploration of that league.
Amazing.